I left without a word. No dramatic speech, no slammed door, no note on the kitchen counter. Just me, a suitcase, and a Greyhound ticket to anywhere that wasn't there. My name is Tatum, and that was 7 years ago. 7 years since I walked away from Clay and the bruises he left on my ribs that spelled out his name in purple and yellow. 7 years since I decided I'd rather sleep in my Honda Civic than in a bed next to someone who thought love meant ownership. The first year was hell. I waited tables at a truck stop diner where the coffee was burnt and the customers grabbed at more than just their checks. I slept in my car behind a 24-hour Walmart, showering at the gym I couldn't really afford. But I was free, broke, exhausted, and eating ramen for every meal, but free. You look like you've been through it, Harold said the day I answered his Craigslist ad for construction help. He was this weathered guy in his 50s, all calloused hands and kind eyes. You ever swing a hammer? No, but I learned fast. He taught me everything: how to spot water damage, how to negotiate with suppliers, how to see potential in places other people saw only problems. My first flip was a foreclosure that looked like a crime scene. I bought it for $12,000 with every cent I had scraped together. This place is a disaster, Harold said, kicking at the rotted floorboards. Good thing I like fixing disasters. It took me 8 months and more YouTube tutorials than I care to admit, but I sold that house for $43,000. The profit felt like winning the lottery. I reinvested every penny, then did it again. And again. By year 3, I had my own crew. By year 5, I owned 17 properties across 3 counties. By last month, my portfolio was worth $4.2 million. But my mother still called it a cute hobby. Tatum, honey, when are you going to get a real job? Jacqueline asked during my last visit, sipping wine in the living room of the condo I had bought her. All this house flipping nonsense, it's not sustainable. I looked around at the marble countertops, the custom cabinetry, the view of the lake that cost me 6 figures. Mom, I just closed on a commercial property downtown. The renovation contract alone is worth more than most people make in 5 years. She waved her hand dismissively. That's nice, dear. But what about your future? Your security? My security was sitting in multiple bank accounts, investment portfolios, and real estate holdings that generated more passive income than she'd ever seen. But I didn't say that. I never said that. Instead, I handed her the deed to the condo. This is yours now, free and clear. For just a moment, her face softened. Tatum, I. This is too much. You're my mother. You deserve to be comfortable. She hugged me then, and I let myself believe that maybe, finally, I had done something that made her proud. Maybe this gesture would bridge the gap that had existed between us since I was a kid, since she chose every boyfriend over me, since she made it clear that my feelings were always secondary to keeping the peace. I love you, sweetheart, she whispered. I love you too, Mom. I left feeling lighter than I had in years. The next morning, I flew to Denver for a property inspection that would keep me away for 10 days. 10 days to finalize the biggest deal of my career. 10 days to prove to myself that I had built something real, something lasting. 10 days that would change everything. I got back on a Thursday evening, exhausted but victorious. The Denver property was mine, and the renovation plans were already approved. I pulled into my driveway, grabbed my suitcase from the trunk, and walked up to my front door. The house felt different the moment I stepped inside. Not wrong exactly, but occupied. Like someone had been breathing my air, walking on my floors, existing in my space. I set down my suitcase and listened. That's when I heard it. A laugh I recognized, coming from the guest room down the hall. A laugh that made my blood freeze and my hands shake. Clay's laugh. I stood there in my own entryway, keys still in my hand, listening to my abusive ex-boyfriend's voice drifting through my house like smoke. Like poison. He was here, in my home, in my sanctuary. And somehow I knew exactly who had let him in. I didn't storm down the hall. I didn't scream or throw things or demand explanations. Instead, I did what 7 years of building a business empire had taught me to do. I documented everything. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Clay's voice carried clearly through the guest room door, talking to someone on speaker. Yeah, man, this place is sick. She's got a wine fridge that costs more than my car used to. I took photos of his motorcycle boots by my front door, his leather jacket thrown over my dining room chair, a half empty beer bottle on my coffee table, leaving a ring on the wood I'd personally refinished. The security system I'd installed last year had been recording everything. I pulled up the app and scrolled through 10 days of footage. There he was on day 2, walking through my front door like he owned the place. My mother right behind him, carrying grocery bags. My hands were steady as I saved every file to 3 different cloud accounts. Tatum? My mother's voice came from the kitchen. Is that you, honey? I walked in to find her cooking dinner. In my kitchen, using my groceries. Clay sat at my breakfast bar like this was the most natural thing in the world. Hey, babe, he said, not even looking up from his phone. How was your trip? The casual way he said, babe, made my skin crawl. Like we were still together. Like he hadn't put his hands around my throat the last time I saw him. What is he doing here? I asked my mother. She stirred something on the stove, not meeting my eyes. Clay needed a place to stay for a few days. His apartment flooded. So you brought him to my house. Our house, she corrected. I live here too now, remember? And Clay is like family. Like family. The words hit me like a physical blow. He's not family, Mom. He's my ex-boyfriend who made some mistakes, she interrupted. People change, Tatum. You can't hold grudges forever. Clay finally looked up, and that smirk I remembered too well spread across his face. Come on, T. Water under the bridge, right? I stared at him, at the scar above his left eyebrow from where he'd punched a wall after I'd refused to give him money. At the hands that had grabbed my wrists hard enough to leave marks, at the mouth that had called me worthless, stupid, a waste of space. How long has he been here? I asked. Just since Tuesday, my mother said quickly. I checked my security footage again. Clay had been here since the day after I left. 9 days. I need to make a phone call, I said. I went to my home office and closed the door. My hands were shaking now, but not from fear. From rage so pure, it felt like electricity in my veins. I dialed Taylor's number. Tatum? How is Denver? Taylor, I need you to listen carefully. Clay is in my house. Silence, then. Your abusive ex. Clay? The one we got the restraining order against? That's the one. My mother let him stay here while I was gone. Jesus Christ, are you safe? Do you need me to call the police? I'm safe, but I need you to pull out those LLC documents we drafted last year. The ones with the asset protection clauses. Another pause. Do we finally get to use the nuclear option? We're about to find out. I hung up and sat in my office chair, staring at the framed photo on my desk. It was from the day I'd closed on my first commercial property. Harold had insisted we celebrate, so we'd gone to this little diner where the pie was legendary. You know what the difference is between you and most people? He'd said over coffee. Most people see problems and run. You see problems and figure out how to profit from them. I'd laughed then. Is that what I do? That's exactly what you do, and it's going to make you rich. He was right. Every challenge in my life had become a stepping stone. Every setback had taught me something valuable. Every person who'd underestimated me had given me an advantage they didn't even know they were giving. Now my mother and Clay had just handed me the biggest advantage of all. I opened my laptop and started typing. Transfer documents, trust modifications, LLC restructuring. Every asset I owned was about to become untouchable. A knock on my office door interrupted me. Tatum? My mother's voice. Dinner's ready. I'll be right there. I saved my work and closed the laptop. When I opened the door, she was standing there with that same concerned expression she'd worn my whole childhood whenever she was about to ask me to be the reasonable one. Honey, I know this is awkward, but Clay really has changed. He's been going to therapy and Mom, I said quietly, how much do you think this house is worth? She blinked. What? The market value. What do you think it's worth? I I don't know. Maybe 800,000? I nodded. 1.2 million, actually. I had it appraised last month. Her face went pale. Just so we're clear on exactly what you've put at risk by inviting him here. I walked past her toward the kitchen where Clay was helping himself to a second beer from my refrigerator. The game had officially begun. The next morning, I was up at 5 a.m. moving money like a chess master positioning pieces. Every property, every investment account, every business asset got shuffled into a web of LLCs so complex it would take a team of forensic accountants months to untangle. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Serenity. Mom says you're acting weird. She's worried about you. I screenshot the message and kept working. By noon, I had transferred ownership of 17 properties into shell companies. The condo I'd given my mother. That was the crown jewel of my strategy. I pulled up the deed and smiled at the fine print Taylor and I had buried in there months ago. My phone rang. Taylor, the transfers are complete, he said. Everything's locked down tighter than Fort Knox. But Tatum, are you sure about this? Once we trigger the next phase, there's no going back. I'm sure. What about your mother? She's going to lose. She made her choice when she let him into my house. I hung up and called my real estate agent. Marcus? It's Tatum. I need you to list the Lakewood condo. Today. The one you just gave to your mom? Tatum, that's. Are you sure? The deed has a revocation clause. I'm exercising it. Jesus. Okay, what's the asking price? Whatever gets it sold fastest. 3 hours later, I had a cash offer, above asking price. I was in my office finalizing the sale when Clay knocked on my door. Hey, can we talk? I looked up from my laptop. He was leaning against the doorframe like he owned the place, wearing the same cocky expression that used to make my stomach drop. What do you want, Clay? Look, I know this is weird, me being here and all, but your mom thought it would be good for us to clear the air. Clear the air? Yeah, I mean, we were together for 3 years. That's gotta count for something, right? I saved my work and closed the laptop. What exactly do you think it counts for? He stepped into my office, uninvited. I've been thinking about us a lot lately, about what we had. What we had was you putting your hands on me. That was different. I was in a bad place then, drinking too much, stressed about work. You choked me, Clay. I never meant to hurt you. You broke my ribs. That was an accident. I stood up. Get out of my office. Come on, T. Don't be like this. Your mom says you've done really well for yourself. Maybe we could be partners or something. I've got some business ideas. Get out! He held up his hands. Fine, fine. But think about it, okay? We could be good together again. After he left, I sat there for a full minute, hands clenched so tight my knuckles went white. Then I picked up my phone and called Marcus back. The condo sold. When can we close? Tomorrow if you want. The buyers are eager. Perfect. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Serenity. Seriously, what's going on? Mom says you're being hostile. This time I called her. Serenity, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Did you know Clay was staying at my house? Silence. Serenity? Mom said it was temporary, just until he got back on his feet. And you thought that was okay? I I don't know. Mom said you two had talked about it. We didn't talk about anything. I came home from a business trip and found my abusive ex-boyfriend drinking beer in my kitchen. Oh my God. Tatum, I didn't know. What else don't you know? What else has Mom told you that isn't true? I don't understand. Come over tonight. We need to talk. She arrived at 7, looking nervous. Clay and my mother were out at dinner, which was perfect timing. Want some tea? I asked. Sure. I made us both chamomile and sat across from her at my kitchen table. Then I slid a manila folder across to her. What's this? Open it. She did. Her face went pale as she flipped through the pages. Property deeds, bank statements, LLC documents, all of it showing exactly how much I was worth and exactly how I'd protected it. Tatum, you own all of this? Every penny earned by myself, every property bought with money I made flipping houses. She kept reading. Wait, this says the condo mom's living in? You sold it? This afternoon. But where will she live? That's not my problem anymore. Serenity looked up at me, tears in her eyes. I don't understand what's happening. What's happening is that I'm done being the family ATM. I'm done being treated like my success is just luck. And I'm done having my boundaries violated by people who think they're entitled to what I've built. But she's our mother. Our mother chose Clay over me. Again, Serenity flipped to the last page of the folder. Her eyes widened. This trust document, it only has your name on it. That's right. You moved everything, every asset, every property, everything. I protected everything. She was quiet for a long time, just staring at the papers. Finally, she looked up at me. Mom's going to lose her mind when she finds out. Probably. The condo closes tomorrow? Tomorrow. Serenity closed the folder and pushed it back across the table. Good. I blinked. Good? She lied to me, Tatum, about you agreeing to let Clay stay here, and if she lied about that. She trailed off, then met my eyes. What else has she lied about? That was exactly the question I'd been hoping she'd ask. The condo closed at 10 a.m. on Friday. By 10:15, my mother was calling me, screaming, "What did you do? What did you do?" I put her on speaker and kept working at my laptop. I exercised a legal clause in the deed. You can't just sell my home. It was never your home. It was a gift with conditions. Conditions you violated. This is insane. You're punishing me because I helped someone in need. I'm protecting my assets because you let my abuser into my house. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, I'm calling a lawyer. She hung up. 2 hours later, Serenity called. She did it. She actually called a lawyer. What did they say? That she has grounds to sue you for half of everything. Something about family contribution and unjust enrichment. I laughed. Actually laughed. Let her try. Tatum, she's serious. She's telling everyone you've lost your mind. Aunt Patricia called me crying, saying you've become greedy and heartless. What did you tell her? That she doesn't know the whole story. That afternoon, I got a call from my cousin Derek. Tatum, what the hell is going on? Mom says you kicked Aunt Jacqueline out on the street. I sold a property I owned. That's not what I heard. I heard you're being vindictive because she tried to help Clay get back on his feet. Derek, Clay broke my ribs. He choked me unconscious. Would you want him staying in your house? Silence. That's what I thought. But the calls kept coming. Family members, family friends, people from church, all of them with the same message. I was being unreasonable. I was being cruel. I was being ungrateful to the woman who raised me. By Sunday, my mother had retained a lawyer named Patricia Hoffman, who specialized in family disputes and asset recovery. The demand letter arrived Monday morning. Taylor read it to me over the phone. She's claiming that she provided emotional and financial support during your business development phase, and that this constitutes a partnership interest in your assets. She wants 50% of everything. Emotional and financial support. That's what it says. Taylor, she never gave me a dime. She told me I was wasting my time. She called my business a hobby. I know, but she's got Clay backing up her story. Of course she does. There's more. She's claiming the condo sale was fraudulent because she was a tenant with rights. She never paid rent. Doesn't matter. She's saying you created an illegal eviction situation. I hung up and called Serenity. We need to talk. Tonight. She came over at 8, looking exhausted. This is getting ugly, she said. Mom's telling everyone you've had some kind of breakdown. She says the success went to your head. What do you think? I think she's scared. And when Mom gets scared, she gets mean. I poured us both wine and sat down across from her. Serenity, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think before you answer. Okay. When I was starting out, when I was living in my car and working at the diner, did Mom ever send me money? She frowned. I thought she did. She always said she was helping you. Did you ever see her send anything? A check? A money order? Anything? No, but what about when I bought my first house? Did she help with the down payment? She said she did. But did you see it happen? Serenity was quiet for a long time. No. Do you remember when Grandma died? When we were supposed to inherit her savings? Mom said there wasn't anything left after the funeral expenses. I went to my office and came back with another folder. Grandma left $43,000. I found the probate records last year when I was doing research for a property near her old neighborhood. Serenity opened the folder and read. Her face went white. This says Mom was the executor. This says she withdrew everything 6 months after the funeral. Keep reading. She bought a car, a vacation to Mexico. She gave Clay $5,000 for a motorcycle. Serenity looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. She stole from us. She stole from Grandma, from you, from me. But why would she? Because she could. Because she knew we'd never question her. Because she spent our entire lives making us believe that questioning her makes us bad daughters. Serenity wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to fight her lawsuit, and I'm going to win. How can you be so sure? Because I have something she doesn't. What? The truth. And documentation to prove it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you're so smart. We'll see how smart you are when you lose everything. See, I showed Serenity the message. He's threatening you. He's scared. They both are. Why? Because they know what I know. Which is? I smiled and poured myself more wine. That this was never about Clay needing a place to stay. This was about them working together to get access to my money. And I can prove it. Serenity stared at me. How? Remember when you said Clay was still using my Netflix password? Yeah, so? I never gave him that password. The only way he could have it is if someone who lives in this house gave it to him. Mom. Mom. Which means they've been in contact a lot longer than she's been telling us. Serenity leaned back in her chair. Oh my God. Tomorrow I'm filing a countersuit. Fraud, theft, conspiracy, and emotional distress. Tatum, she's still our mother. No, I said quietly. A mother protects her children. She doesn't feed them to wolves. The harassment started 3 days after I filed the countersuit. My business phone rang at 6 a.m. When I answered, Clay's voice slurred through the speaker. You think you can destroy people and get away with it? I hung up and immediately called my security company. I need cameras installed, everywhere, today. By noon, I had a dozen high-definition cameras covering every angle of my property. Motion sensors, audio recording, night vision, the works. Good thing, because that evening I caught Clay trying to jimmy my back door. Taylor, I'm sending you footage right now. Jesus, Tatum, file a police report immediately. Already done. But the cops said they couldn't arrest him based on video alone. They needed to catch him in the act. So I waited. The next morning, Serenity called, sobbing. She's telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown. She's saying you've become paranoid and delusional. What did you tell them? The truth. That you're protecting yourself from people who want to steal from you. How did that go over? Aunt Patricia hung up on me. Derek said I've been brainwashed by your success complex. I'm sorry, Serenity. Don't be. I'd rather know the truth than live in their fantasy world. That afternoon, I was reviewing security footage when I spotted something that made my blood run cold. My mother, standing in my driveway at 2 a.m. the night before, talking to Clay. She was holding papers. I zoomed in and enhanced the image. The papers looked like building blueprints. I called Taylor immediately. They're planning something. I need you to see this footage. He came over within an hour. We watched the video together in my office. She's showing him the layout of your house, Taylor said. Look, she's pointing to the windows, the doors. Why would she do that? Maybe they're planning a break-in. Make it look like a burglary, destroy evidence of your financial records. Or worse? Taylor looked at me sharply. What do you mean? Clay used to threaten to burn down my apartment when we were together, said if he couldn't have me, nobody could. We need to call the police again. With what? A video of my mother talking to someone in my driveway. They'll say it's a family dispute. Then what do? We get smarter. I spent the next 2 days digging through every piece of documentation I could find about my mother's finances: bank records, credit reports, tax returns. What I discovered made me sick. She'd been lying about money for years. The retirement fund she claimed to have cashed out to help me, still intact. The second mortgage she said she took out when I was in college, never happened. The financial hardship that supposedly prevented her from helping me when I was homeless? She'd had $37,000 in savings the entire time. But the worst discovery came when I found an old photo album in my closet. Pictures from my childhood, family vacations, birthday parties. And there, in a photo from my 16th birthday party, was Clay. Clay, who I supposedly met when I was 22. Clay, who my mother claimed she'd never seen before I brought him home. Clay, who was standing next to my mother in this photo, his arm around her shoulders, both of them laughing. I called Serenity immediately. I need you to come over, now. What's wrong? Just come, and bring any old photo albums you have. She arrived 20 minutes later with a shoebox full of pictures. What are we looking for? Clay. We spread the photos across my dining room table and started sorting. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. There, Serenity whispered, pointing to a Christmas photo from when I was 17. He's in the background. And here. I held up a picture from a family barbecue. He's talking to Uncle Mike. And here. Serenity's voice was barely audible. Oh my God, Tatum, he's helping Mom carry groceries. We found 12 photos spanning 5 years. Clay at family events. Clay helping with yard work. Clay sitting at our kitchen table playing cards with my mother. She knew him before you did, Serenity said. She introduced us. Why would she? Because she wanted someone to control me, someone to keep me dependent and small. Serenity sank into a chair. This is insane. This is calculated. My phone rang, my mother's number. Answer it, Serenity said. Put it on speaker. Hello, Mom. Tatum, honey, I think we need to talk. This lawsuit is getting out of hand. I agree. Really? Oh, thank goodness. I was hoping you'd come to your senses. I have. That's why I'm not dropping the countersuit. Silence. What countersuit? The one where I'm suing you for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Conspiracy? Tatum, you're being ridiculous. Am I? Tell me, Mom, how long have you known Clay? Another pause, longer this time. I met him when you brought him home. That's interesting, because I have photos of him at family events from when I was 16. The line went dead quiet. I could hear her breathing. Mom, those photos don't prove anything. They prove you've been lying about everything. You can't prove. I can prove you stole Grandma's inheritance. I can prove you lied about helping me financially. And I can prove you and Clay have been planning this for years. Planning what? To take everything I've built. She hung up. Serenity looked at me with wide eyes. She didn't deny it. No, I said. She didn't. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Your mom never owned the condo. I stared at the message, confused. Then my phone buzzed again, this time from Serenity. Our mom. I looked up at her. She was holding her phone, tears streaming down her face. I didn't send that, she whispered. Then who did? We both looked at her phone. The message thread showed it coming from her number, but she was sitting right next to me. Someone else had access to her phone, someone who wanted us to know they were watching. Someone who was playing a much bigger game than we'd realized. The pretrial meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning at Taylor's office. I arrived early, carrying 3 bankers' boxes full of evidence. Jesus, Tatum? What's all this? Everything. Bank records, photos, phone logs, security footage. I want them buried so deep they'll need archaeological equipment to dig out. Taylor opened the first box and whistled. This is comprehensive. I don't do anything halfway. He pulled out a manila folder labeled financial fraud, inheritance theft, and flipped through it. These probate records are damning. Your mother withdrew $43,000 and spent it on personal expenses while telling you there was nothing left. Keep reading. He found the next folder. Clay's motorcycle purchase, $5,000, paid for by your mother. 3 months after your grandmother's death. Now you're getting it. Tatum, this isn't just fraud. This is a pattern of financial abuse spanning years. I know. The door opened and Serenity walked in, looking pale. How are you holding up? Taylor asked her. I've been better. I gave my statement to the court reporter yesterday. What did you tell them? Everything. The lies about helping Tatum financially, the inheritance theft. The fact that Clay was around our family for years before Tatum supposedly met him? Taylor nodded. That's going to be crucial testimony. My phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Serenity said quickly. Clay's been calling me from different numbers all week. What's he saying? That I'm a traitor. That I'm destroying our family. That I'll regret siding with you. Have you reported the harassment? The police say they can't do anything unless he makes a specific threat. Taylor looked up from the evidence boxes. Actually, we might be able to use this. If he's harassing witnesses, that's obstruction of justice. He's not that stupid, I said. Don't underestimate desperation, Taylor replied. People make mistakes when they're cornered. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Clay. See you in court, babe. Hope you're ready to lose everything. I showed it to Taylor. Screenshot that. Send it to me immediately. Why? Because he just threatened you via text message. That's evidence of intimidation. An hour later, we were walking through the courthouse for the final pretrial conference. My mother's lawyer, Patricia Hoffman, was already there with my mother and Clay. Ms. McBride, Hoffman said as we approached, I hope you're prepared to be reasonable today. I'm prepared to present facts, I replied. Facts can be interpreted many ways. Family relationships are complex. Theft is pretty straightforward. We sat down at the conference table. The mediator, Judge Martinez, reviewed the case files. This is quite a situation, he said. Ms. Jacqueline, you're claiming a 50% interest in your daughter's business assets based on familial support and contribution? That's correct, Your Honor. I provided emotional and financial support during her early business development. And Ms. Tatum, you're countersuing for fraud and theft? Among other things, yes. Judge Martinez looked at Clay. And you are? Clay Simmons. I'm here to support Jacqueline. I witnessed her contributions to Tatum's business. I see. The judge flipped through more papers. Ms. Tatum, it says here you're claiming your mother stole inheritance money? Taylor opened one of our evidence boxes. Your Honor, we have probate records showing that Ms. Jacqueline withdrew $43,000 from her deceased mother's estate and spent it on personal expenses, including a $5,000 motorcycle for Mr. Simmons, while telling her daughters there was no inheritance. Hoffman leaned forward. Those expenditures were legitimate estate expenses. A motorcycle is an estate expense? Taylor asked. Transportation costs related to estate management. For someone who wasn't the executor's employee or contractor? Judge Martinez held up his hand. Let's focus on the primary claim. Ms. Jacqueline, what specific financial contributions did you make to your daughter's business? My mother straightened in her chair. I provided seed money for her first property purchase, $12,000. Do you have documentation of this loan or gift? It was a family matter. We didn't formalize it with paperwork. Taylor slid a bank statement across the table. Your Honor, this shows Ms. Tatum's account activity from that time period. The $12,000 came from a personal loan she took out using her car as collateral. There's no deposit from any family member. Hoffman looked flustered. Financial support takes many forms: housing, emotional support, guidance. Ms. Tatum was homeless during this period, Taylor interrupted. Living in her car. Her mother provided no housing assistance. That's not true, my mother snapped. She could have come home any time. To the home where her abusive boyfriend was welcome. Serenity's voice cut through the room. Everyone turned to look at her. She'd been quiet until now, but her face was flushed with anger. Serenity, please, my mother said. You don't understand. I understand that you let the man who broke my sister's ribs sleep in her house. I understand that you've been lying about money for years. And I understand that you knew Clay before Tatum ever met him. Hoffman whispered something to my mother, but Clay leaned forward. You little Mr. Simmons, Judge Martinez said sharply, you'll keep quiet or you'll be removed from this room. Taylor pulled out another folder. Your Honor, we have photographic evidence showing Mr. Simmons at family events years before Ms. Tatum claims to have met him. This suggests a pre existing relationship and possible conspiracy. That's ridiculous, Hoffman said. You can't prove conspiracy based on old photographs. Actually, Taylor said, we can, because we also have phone records showing regular contact between Ms. Jacqueline and Mr. Simmons throughout the period when Ms. Tatum was building her business, including calls made the day before each major property purchase. The room went silent. Judge Martinez looked at the evidence, then at my mother. Ms. Jacqueline, is there anything you'd like to clarify about your relationship with Mr. Simmons? My mother's face had gone white. I, we, he's like family. That's not what I asked. Hoffman whispered urgently to my mother, then looked up. Your Honor, we'd like to request a brief recess to consult with our clients. Denied. Answer the question, Ms. Jacqueline. My mother looked at Clay, then at me, then back at the judge. I refused to answer on the grounds that it might incriminate me. The judge raised his eyebrows. Interesting choice of words. Taylor smiled and reached for another box of evidence. Your Honor, there's something else the court needs to see. The actual trial started 2 weeks later. The courtroom was packed with family members, most of them glaring at me like I'd committed some unforgivable sin. My mother's lawyer opened with a sob story about maternal sacrifice and ungrateful children. She painted me as a cold hearted daughter who'd forgotten where she came from, who owed everything to her mother's love and support. Jacqueline McBride gave her daughter the foundation for success, Hoffman told the jury. She provided emotional guidance, financial assistance, and a stable home environment. Now that Tatum has achieved wealth, she's attempting to rewrite history and deny her mother's contributions. When it was Taylor's turn, he walked to the evidence table and picked up a single photograph. Ladies and gentlemen, this case isn't about family obligations or maternal love. It's about fraud, theft, and a conspiracy that spans nearly a decade. He held up the photo of Clay at my 16th birthday party. The plaintiff claims she met Clay Simmons when her daughter brought him home at age 22. This photograph proves that's a lie. Mr. Simmons was present at family events for years before that alleged first meeting. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Furthermore, Taylor continued, we will show that Ms. Jacqueline stole $43,000 from her deceased mother's estate, money that rightfully belonged to her daughters. She used this stolen money to fund a lifestyle that included purchasing expensive gifts for Mr. Simmons. He walked over to our evidence table and picked up a stack of bank records. We will prove that every claim of financial support was fabricated, that Ms. Tatum built her business empire with zero assistance from her mother, and that this lawsuit is nothing more than an attempted theft of assets earned through years of hard work and sacrifice. The first witness was my mother. Hoffman led her through a carefully rehearsed story about supporting my dreams, providing guidance, and watching me grow into a successful businesswoman. I always believed in Tatum, she said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Even when others doubted her, I was there. And did you provide financial assistance during her early business ventures? Yes, I gave her the down payment for her first property, $12,000 from my savings. Was this a loan or a gift? A gift. A mother's investment in her daughter's future. When Taylor stood up for cross-examination, the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Ms. Jacqueline, you testified that you gave your daughter $12,000 for her first property purchase. Do you have any documentation of this gift? It was a family matter. We didn't need paperwork. I see. Do you have a bank record showing a $12,000 withdrawal from your account during that time period? I I don't recall the exact details. Taylor walked to the evidence table and picked up a bank statement. This is your bank statement from that month. There's no $12,000 withdrawal. In fact, your account balance never exceeded $3,000 during the entire period. My mother's face flushed. I may have used multiple accounts. We've subpoenaed all your financial records. There's no evidence of any such transaction. Well, it might have been cash. $12,000 in cash? Where did you get that much cash? I I saved it over time. Taylor picked up another document. This is your daughter's loan application from that same month. She used her car as collateral to borrow the $12,000 from First National Bank. The loan officer's notes indicate she specifically mentioned having no family financial support. The courtroom was dead silent. Ms. Jacqueline, did you lie under oath about providing this money? Hoffman jumped up. Objection! Argumentative! Sustained, the judge said. Rephrase. Ms. Jacqueline, is your testimony about the $12,000 gift accurate? My mother looked at Clay, then at her lawyer, then back at Taylor. I may have been mistaken about the amount. Were you also mistaken about knowing Mr. Simmons before your daughter met him? I don't understand the question. Taylor held up the birthday party photograph. This is your daughter's 16th birthday party. Do you recognize the man standing next to you? My mother stared at the photo for a long moment. That could be anyone. The court has had this photograph analyzed by a forensic expert. The facial recognition software confirms this is Clay Simmons. Would you like to change your testimony about when you first met him? I I might have met him briefly before, but how briefly? This photo is from 2007. Your daughter claims she met Mr. Simmons in 2013. That's 6 years, not briefly. Hoffman was whispering urgently to my mother, but Taylor wasn't finished. Ms. Jacqueline, are you familiar with the name Colton William Wright? My mother went completely white. I. What? Colton William Wright. Does that name mean anything to you? No, I've never heard that name. Taylor walked to the judge and handed him a document. Your Honor, this is a lease agreement for the Lakewood condo that Ms. Jacqueline was living in. The lease is signed by someone named Colton William Wright, claiming to be the property owner. The judge examined the document. Ms. Jacqueline, did you sign a lease with Mr. Wright? I. Yes, but I thought he was Tatum's business partner. Did you verify his identity or his ownership of the property? I trusted that he was legitimate. Taylor smiled. Your Honor, Colton William Wright doesn't exist. It's a fictitious name. The lease Ms. Jacqueline signed is fraudulent, created to support her false claim of tenancy rights. The courtroom erupted. Family members were shouting, the judge was banging his gavel, and my mother was crying. Furthermore, Taylor continued when order was restored, we have evidence that Ms. Jacqueline created this false lease herself in an attempt to establish a legal standing for her lawsuit. That's not true, my mother screamed. I would never. Then perhaps you can explain why the lease was created on your home computer using your IP address 3 days after you were served with the eviction notice. The judge looked at my mother with disgust. Ms. Jacqueline, you're being charged with perjury and fraud. This case is dismissed with prejudice. He banged his gavel. Furthermore, I'm awarding Ms. Tatum damages for legal fees and emotional distress. The amount will be determined at a separate hearing. As the courtroom cleared, Clay grabbed my arm in the hallway. This isn't over, he hissed. Yes, I said quietly. It is. 2 bailiffs appeared and escorted him away. There was a warrant out for his arrest on fraud charges. My mother sat alone on a bench outside the courtroom, crying. Serenity walked over and sat next to her. Mom, why did you do this? I just wanted what was fair, she whispered. Fair would have been supporting your daughter instead of trying to steal from her. I watched them from across the hall, feeling nothing but emptiness where anger used to be. Justice was served, but it tasted like ash. The court awarded me $847,000 in damages and legal fees. My mother lost her pension, her savings, and what was left of her reputation. Clay disappeared the day before his fraud hearing, leaving behind a trail of unpaid debts and angry creditors. I bought a house in Colorado, mountains, privacy, and 3,000 miles between me and the wreckage of my family. Serenity visited me on a Tuesday in October, carrying a small wrapped box. I found this when I was cleaning out Mom's storage unit, she said, setting it on my kitchen counter. How is she? Living with Aunt Patricia, working at a grocery store. She asks about you sometimes. What do you tell her? That you're doing well. I opened the box. Inside was a small photo album I'd never seen before. The cover was faded pink with "My Girls" written in my mother's handwriting. "I almost threw it away," Serenity said, "but I thought you should see it first." I flipped through the pages. Baby pictures, first steps, school plays, birthday parties. All of it from before Clay, before the lies, before everything went wrong. There was a photo of me at 7, standing in front of a rundown house with a "for sale" sign in the yard. "I want to fix it, Mommy," I was saying in the photo, pointing at the broken shutters. My mother had written underneath, "Tatum says she's going to buy this house someday and make it beautiful. I believe she will." "She kept this," I said quietly. "She kept everything. Every newspaper article about your business, every photo from your property flips. She had a whole scrapbook. Then why? I don't know. Fear, maybe. Pride. She always said you didn't need her anymore." I closed the album and set it aside. She was right. I didn't. "But you wanted to." I looked at Serenity. "What's that supposed to mean?" "The condo. You could have just kicked her out, but you bought her a place to live first. You could have cut her off completely, but you gave her a home. I gave her a gift with strings attached. You gave her a chance to prove she loved you more than she loved control. She failed the test. Yeah, she did." We sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee and watching the mountains through my kitchen window. "Do you ever regret it?" Serenity asked. "The lawsuit? The evidence? All of it?" "No. Not even a little. She stole from us, Serenity. She lied to us for years. She let my abuser into my house and then tried to steal everything I'd worked for. What exactly should I regret?" "Nothing, I guess. It's just she's still our mother." "No," I said firmly. "A mother protects her children. A mother celebrates their success. A mother doesn't conspire with their abuser to steal their life's work. So what is she then? A woman who gave birth to me, nothing more." Serenity nodded slowly. "I think I'm starting to understand that." "Good." It took me 32 years to figure it out. My phone rang. Taylor's number. "Tatum, I have news. Clay was arrested in Nevada. Fraud charges, identity theft, and violation of a restraining order from another ex-girlfriend." "How long will he get?" 3 to 5 years, minimum. Maybe more if they find other victims." I hung up and told Serenity. "Good," she said. "He deserves worse. He'll get worse." Prison doesn't treat guys like Clay very well. That evening, Serenity helped me hang pictures in my new home office. Photos of my properties, awards from the Real Estate Association, a framed copy of my first deed. "This one's my favorite," she said, pointing to a photo of Harold and me standing in front of my first successful flip. "Mine too. He would be proud of you." "I hope so." She picked up the pink photo album from the counter. "What are you going to do with this?" I took it from her and walked to the fireplace. The flames were already burning from the evening chill. "Tatum? Wait." I held the album over the fire, then stopped. "You know what?" "No." I walked back to the kitchen and put the album in a drawer. "Why didn't you burn it?" "Because those little girls in those photos deserved better than they got, and burning their pictures won't change that." "But you're keeping it?" "I'm keeping the reminder of who I was before I learned that family can be your worst enemy, of who I became after I learned that lesson." Serenity hugged me. "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For surviving. For building something beautiful out of something broken. For protecting yourself when no one else would." "I'm proud of you too." "For what?" "For choosing the truth over comfort. For standing with me when it would have been easier to stay neutral." "We're okay, aren't we?" "You and me? We're better than okay. We're free." After Serenity left, I sat on my porch watching the sunset paint the mountains purple and gold. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know where you live now. This isn't over." I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Taylor, then blocked the number. Clay could threaten me from prison if he wanted. I had security cameras, a state-of-the-art alarm system, and a restraining order with teeth. More importantly, I had something he could never take away, the knowledge that I'd won, not just in court, but in life. I'd escaped his abuse, built an empire, and exposed the people who'd tried to tear me down. I'd chosen my own family, Serenity, Taylor, Harold's memory, over the people who shared my DNA, but not my values. The silence around me wasn't empty, it was peaceful. It was the sound of a life rebuilt on my own terms, with my own rules, surrounded by my own choices. And when the door finally closed behind them, my mother, Clay, and everyone who'd chosen their comfort over my safety, silence sounded like justice. It sounded like freedom. It sounded like home.